What's up Internet, Kevin here on TLD, and today we're going to bring you guys a brief little review of this, the SteelSeries Stratus, a small portable Bluetooth wireless controller designed specifically to be used with different iOS devices. We're going to talk about how it feels and controls, what kind of apps it works best with, and in the end, whether or not it's worth purchasing. So let's check it out today on TLD. So this is the SteelSeries Stratus, a small pocket-sized Bluetooth controller that you can get in black, as you can see here, and also available in a white and gray model. It features a setup that's pretty standard these days. You've got a D-pad with 2 analog sticks, 4 front-facing buttons on the right side with a pause button in the middle, and up top we've got 4 different shoulder buttons. Above the pause button is a series of 4 lights which act both as a battery meter and as player designation in multiplayer situations. On the bottom we can see a micro USB port used for charging, and on the right side we've got the power button, and on back is a syncing button used whenever you want to add a new device to connect to or erase its device history. Now included in the box aside from the controller itself is a dust cover screen for when carrying the controller around in your pocket, a nice little carrying bag if you want to be even more fancy, and a micro USB to USB cable for charging purposes. Now first off, I have to say that this controller is extremely comfortable despite its very small size. Normally with something this small you'd be worried about the buttons being way too close to each other so you're accidentally hitting them, or there's not really a good way of gripping it, which might still be an issue if you do have particularly large hands, but otherwise it's actually really comfy and you can use it for hours on end without any real kind of problem. The sides and the top of the controller contour to your index fingers, allowing you to firmly grip it and easily access all of the top shoulder buttons, with your other fingers acting as support. Now one little feature that I do like is the fact that the Stratus's dust cover can also be snapped onto the back of the controller, giving you another way to have a better grip for your middle finger to rest into, and just a place to store the cover so you don't just put it down while you're using the controller and lose it somewhere. Now feel-wise, this thing is really responsive, with the front-facing buttons having just the right balance of pressure sensitivity and resistance to touch. The shoulder buttons, on the other hand, are just a little awkward just because of how thin the controller is and how close together they are, but it really doesn't take that much time to adjust, and just get used to resting your index fingers on both of them and just shifting front and back. Now personally, I'm not a big fan of its D-pad. It feels just a bit too shallow for my comfort, but in all honesty, most app games don't really use that, and in favor, they use the dual analogs, which actually work out really great despite not having any kind of gripping or concave feature to keep your thumbs locked on. Now setting up the controller is really easy, as it follows basically the same steps as any Bluetooth device would with iOS, and the battery life of 10 hours is more than enough when you're using it portably on the go, as long as you remember to charge it every night. So overall, in terms of just pure performance and how it feels, I really don't have any major complaints regarding this controller. It's really great despite its small size, but there are a few caveats in terms of its field of use. To begin with, this does work only for iOS 7 and above, and that also means that you have to be using it on an iPhone 5, a 4th generation iPad or any iPad mini, and 5th generation iPod touches. And on top of that, you need to know which app games actually do offer full controller support. Now SteelSeries does have on their website a list of all the different games that the Stratus will currently work for, but even then, a lot of those games that say they offer controller support don't necessarily do it all the way. A lot of them will oftentimes have sections, or even just on the options menu, times where you have to use the touch controls. Now when a game does offer full controller support, the difference is night and day, especially in FPS games where dual analogs and buttons are king compared to swipe controls and having to use on-screen buttons, which end up blocking your viewpoint. I also found it a lot more preferable in third-person or isometric action games where I was trying to do multiple things in quick succession without making mistakes. Now one last important issue about this controller that I do have to cover is that I find that the price point of $80 is just too steep for what you're getting. Now don't get me wrong, like I said, this controller is absolutely great for how small it is, and in fact I'm even willing to deal with the argument of the fact that taking all that technology and compacting it into such a small frame and working so well is worth paying more than $40 or $50. But the problem is the amount of content you can actually use it with right now. Unless you're planning on buying and playing all 140 games on that list, you're going to find yourself buying an $80 controller just to play a handful of titles that you probably paid less than $30 or $40 for as a group. Now as time goes on and more games actually have controller support, this argument's going to be moot. But as of right now, today, I just find it to be too much of a tough sell. Now if you do have the money to spare and you're looking over this list of all the different games that have controller support, and you can find enough of them to justify to yourself purchasing it, then great, because the Stratus is an awesome portable wireless controller to use. Otherwise, go ahead and hold on to your money for now, save it up, and wait to either see it go on sale or see a huge spike in games that you want to play that do offer controller support. Now before I get out of here guys, I do want to take a quick moment to thank Audible for helping make today's video possible. Now I love to read, but I don't always have the time to get through as many books as I'd like, and to help rectify that I've set a goal for myself to try and read 50 books this year, which basically breaks down to 1 book a week. Now personally, I just really love the feel of a physical book and turning pages, but like I said, I just don't always have time for that. And the chance to listen to an audiobook while I'm driving or exercising or just doing chores around the house is really handy. For instance, as a part of my goal to read 50 books, I really got into the fantasy author Brandon Sanderson. So I decided to check out one of his books that I don't already own, The Way of Kings, and I downloaded it and I listen to it whenever I get the chance, which makes my goal of 50 books all the more attainable. Now obviously not everyone's into fantasy authors, and with Audible that's not a problem, because they have over 100,000 different books to choose from, so no matter what genre you're into, they're bound to have something that interests you. Now if you want to give it a shot, Audible was awesome enough to give our fans who aren't already members a chance to get a free downloadable book. All you have to do is go to audible.com/today and sign up. Well, that was our review of the SteelSeries Stratus wireless gaming controller for iOS. If you guys want to grab one for yourself or just check it out in the alternate white color, we have a link posted in the description. And if you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure to show us some love by hitting that thumbs up button. And if you're not a subscriber yet, then you should hit that button too, because we've got more great content on the way. Until next time, I'm Kevin for TLD, and we'll see you later.